Today we have part 1 of the story with the headline, War's Bravest Deeds, Recollections of Episodes of Heroism by Land and Sea. The subheadline says, Stirring Contributions from Colonel N.T. Willis, Major Alfred R. Calhoun, Captain George P. Singer, Edward Dawn. Today's installment is told by Major A.R. Calhoun. It says, you are the one man I want to see here. The man who wrung my hand and shouted this into my ear was in the uniform of a Federal captain in the cavalry. He was about 30 years of age, over 6 feet in height, and lean, lithe, and active as a tiger. His hair was crisp and yellow, his eyes blue, and but for the determined and almost desperate expression of his face at this time, Captain George Walker of Carter's 2nd East Tennessee Cavalry, fighting in for the government, might have been thought handsome. As he addressed me in the prison pen in Atlanta, Georgia, this was in November 1863. I noticed that he was distinguished from the other prisoners by having a thick iron ring attached to his right ankle. To the ring was fastened a heavy, rusty iron chain, at the end of which there was an iron ball that weighed at least 100 pounds, but which he carried as if it were a toy. A year before this, when a boy of 18, I entered the Army. I met Walker for the first time at Somerset, Kentucky. At that time, he was regarded as one of the most daring scouts in our service, and this reputation he maintained to the end. You can't be a friend to be glad to see me here, I said, as we sat side by side on a log, the rain pouring down in torrents on the hungry, poorly clad men in blue about us. But sitting there, the captain told me his story. When the war broke out, he was working at his trade in the machine shop of the Georgia Central Railroad at Atlanta. Every man capable of bearing arms was at once mustered into the service of the Confederacy, and those needed for other duties, like Walker, were specially detailed. He was an East Tennessean and an intense Union man, so at the first opportunity, deserted, made his way through to Camp Dick Robinson in Kentucky, and enlisted in Carter's regiment. His courage, intelligence, and knowledge of the people and geography of the mountain country made him an invaluable scout. He was on special duty in the Chickamauga campaign when he was captured and taken on to Atlanta, from which point the prisoners were sent north to Libby and Belle Isle. At Atlanta, Walker was recognized by some of his former associates, separated from the other prisoners, tried for desertion, and sentenced to death. This was Wednesday, the 23rd of November, and he was to die on the Friday following. Buddy said in conclusion, if they shoot me, it must be on the wing, and I want you to help me. I told him I was ready, but I did not see how I could assist an unarmed man, hampered with a ball and chain, to scale the 15 feet of surrounding stockade with an armed guard every 15 paces. I've filed the rivets and can get rid of the irons, he explained, and with the help of a stretcher that's inside, I can climb so as to get hold of the stockade, then I can pull myself up and swing over. But the guards, I protested. I want you and your friends to take care of them, he said. In the middle of the stockade, there was a pile of bricks, the chimney of a house that had been burned down. All the guards are green, continued Walker, and if just at 12 you could get our boys to heap bricks down at the other end, they'd run there from their posts and leave me a clear front to the south. They have a camp with 5,000 men in it outside, but if I'm shot running through it, it'll be a darn sight better than standing up to the thing blindfolded, you know. I had once told Walker's purpose to a score or more men whom I could trust, and I found every one of them ready to risk his life to help their comrade. I was with them when the guards called out, 11:30 and all's well. He freed himself from the chain, and I bade him goodbye and Godspeed. I went to the men, whom I found crouching on the wet ground with bricks in their arms. I never felt so nervous before, and I was amazed at the captain's splendid nerve and coolness. At length, the shout went round the stockade, 12 o'clock and all's well. That was the signal. On the instant, 30 men rose and began to heave bricks. With cries of alarm, the guards fired wildly into the stockade and rushed in a body to the point of attack. Walker's one chance had come. The space to the south was clear. I rose and watched him by the dim light of the dead line lamps. He ran to the stockade, placed a stretcher against it, mounted, seized the top of the logs, and was over with the speed and grace of a greyhound. We could hear the firing along the trail and the distant cheer that told us he was free of the camp. The Confederates, who hurried into the pen, found a ball and chain with no Walker at the end. The gallant fellow reached the Union lines in safety, and strange to say, not a man was injured by the firing of the guard. This installment was written by Alfred R. Calhoun. This story came from the great state of Wisconsin, being reported in the newspaper library of March 31st, 1894. Thank you for joining us today. If you want to continue to uncover all of America's lost and forgotten history, then remember before you leave to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and remember to like and comment below. And we will see you next time on Americana Archives.